Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell held a wide-ranging, off-camera, no-audio interview with reporters Wednesday. CBS News political correspondent Ed O'Keefe was one of those reporters in the room with Leader McConnell. He joins me now from our Washington bureau. So, Ed, what did Mitch McConnell tell you about the fight for control of the Senate?
Says it's still close, and it ain't over until it's over. He listed 9 competitive Senate races across the country. I should run them by people here who are curious what he was talking about. Arizona, Nevada, Montana, North Dakota, Missouri, Indiana, Tennessee, West Virginia, and Florida. All of them still seen by most as competitive, and he says they could break either way. He says Democrats especially are still in a knife fight in an alley because any of these races could break to Republican or Democratic control. He says, look, odds of Republicans holding on are still better. He'd rather be in their position, but in such a narrowly divided Senate, he's taking a pragmatic approach, which is that depending on turnout, depending on how things break here in the next 2 weeks or so, Senate control could still go either way.
So what did the Senate Majority Leader say about Republicans' plans for after the election?
Well, he's had a series of interviews this week with various outlets where he's gotten into some conversation about government spending and whether or not Congress would ever really cut into the massive deficit that we run up that's now grown in part, at least some think, because of the Republican tax cut plan last year. He says, bottom line, he doesn't see any real long-term attempts to change Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid as long as Donald Trump is president. That was one of the things he told us, because the president, you'll remember, campaigned in 2016 on the vow that he would not dramatically tweak those programs. And so McConnell said he doesn't think it'll happen as long as the president is the president. But he said ultimately, whenever it happens, it has to be done in a bipartisan way. He didn't say it this way, but what he was inferring is that basically both parties would have to shoulder some of the political pain if and when there is finally an attempt to revamp those programs. In the short term, we are facing the prospect of a possible another showdown over spending in early December, the threat of a government shutdown. He says he doesn't want to see that happen, but that he and House Speaker Ryan would work with the president to get him 1 year's worth of funding to build that wall along the U.S.-Mexico border that the president wants. He was very clear, 1 year. Remember, the president's looking for $25 billion at least to build out that project over several years. So McConnell, at least for now, laying down a marker of where he's willing to go.
Interesting. All right, so what did Mitch McConnell have to say about the prospect of Democrats taking the House while Republicans hold on to the Senate?
Didn't want to go there, because just as he sees the control of the Senate is too close, he's still holding on hope that Republicans can hold on. That he thinks Republicans can hold on to the Senate. He thinks they can also hold on to the House. And so he didn't really entertain the notion, other than to say that what he considers to be the politics of presidential harassment could potentially end up biting Democrats in the future. He cited what happened with Republicans back in the late 90s when they went after Bill Clinton. He pointed out that Clinton's popularity soared while Republicans' popularity dipped, and Republicans failed to hold on to control of the House in the late 90s. He says, look, Democrats can do all the oversight they want, but they may want to rue the day, or at least remember what happened to us in the late 90s.